Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing MotoGP 22, and today we're going to be doing a time trial challenge right here in the French Grand Prix of Le Mans, right here with my personal rider on board the Tech 3 KTM. Now, I want to give a quick shout out to Sacred Meerkat. Just a couple of days ago we were playing online together, and I learned a lot more from him than as always do, and I really found that this KTM is a joy to use. I really like the RC16 KTM in MotoGP 22, and I just had to chuck in some laps to see what I could do, and we raced here in Le Mans, and I gotta say I really enjoyed my time with him, and learning the KTM was absolutely awesome. So here we are doing some laps here in Le Mans. I'm going to try and do the best possible laps I can do, and also give you a few pointers of how I handled the KTM and how I got the way I did and how we got the lap time we got at the very end. So for now, braking very firm into the left-hand of Shimano Buff. Of course, the really difficult corner. It's one of those corners that it's either great or it's difficult. I found in the earlier MotoGP games I never had issues with that, but recently I've begun to question my braking in that particular part. And of course, that being with the part that MotoGP 22 has a little bit more difference on the brakes compared to the last year's game, where you can lock the front really easy, and I kind of like doing that, but sometimes you can make a mistake. So across the line we are going to set our first banker lap of today, and it's a 1:36.43. Now, as these lap times come in, it does remind me that I need to give a special shout out to Hades, the winner of the last challenge in Portimao with Fermin Aldeguer on board the Moto 2 Calyx. So actually no, it was the Boscoscura which Hades dominated at, and he set the bar extremely high. Of course, the fastest South African in the terms of esports. He's an absolute beast on the motorcycle, so yeah, he absolutely dominated the challenge. I'm expecting him to do the same here, but we'll see how we get on with my lap times. But for the time being, we're going into Musée now for turn 7, a little bit wide on the first time we entered that particular corner, and I can't say I got the apex really nailed for this time around either. But firm on the brakes now, nice and early before we approach Garage Vert. Of course, a really innocuous corner. It doesn't seem like you have to brake so early, but you really do. It's a corner that you need to make sure you get your braking right, otherwise you're not going to get right. Now in Shimano Buff, braking before the Motul sign there, and getting a really out of shape there. Just too much rear brake as well, and also downshifting sent the bike into a bit of a slide, and it was more or less difficult to control. It looked worse than it actually felt, I've got to be honest with you. I did feel like I could really control this KTM, and the sliding was not an issue, but it's something we need to work upon from here. But braking into the penultimate corner for turn 13, and then into Recordement for the final corner. Nice and tight to the apex, just cutting the apex ever so slightly, upshifting upwards, and there we go. Across the line, so 1:30.549. I do believe we can go a lot better than that, but right now, those aren't bad lap times. I'm quite content with the lap times we've been putting in so far. Using the soft front and the medium rear was the combination that really worked well for me. Meerkat and I were playing the other day, as I mentioned. He was using the softs and he was trying the mediums. The combination that really worked for me was the soft front, medium rear. It's something I'm definitely going to be sticking with from now on. I will try other tyres, but for the time being, soft and medium suited me just fine. So into Musée for the third time of asking. Nice and tight to the apex this time around, and we are now up by almost 0.5 of a second, so almost half a second in the back pocket for my virtual ride as we go into the right hand side for Garage Vert. A little bit wide, but we do get the apex onto the right hand side of the tyre, and then slowly upshift, getting in towards now Shimano Buff. Now that things can be made or broken here. Are they going to be made? Is it going to be broken here going into Shimano Buff? Pretty well, but a little bit too wide after the apex, going into turn 10, making a bit of a mistake, and there is the Ghost getting past us. But that is a shame, because we did have a whole half second ahead compared to the Ghost you can see on your screen right now. We're going into turn 12. We are losing ever so slightly by going in a little bit wide into turn 12. We can just tighten that up on for the next couple of laps. We should be able to produce something pretty good. But across the line, I do want to try and change some tyres, so let's go for the double soft combination now. Soft front, soft rear. Let's see what happens on board the KTM RC16. So to the right hand side we'll go now, downshifting into 4th gear, and then we'll start really dropping the shifts and now getting into the left hand side for turn 3. Nice and tight to the 3rd apex, nice and tight for the 4th apex. Dunlop chicane, tackled pretty well, if I do say so myself. And now onto the right hand side for La Chapelle. Too wide, but I also found that it's not a bad entry, because look at the speed you actually are able to pick up on the right hand side of the tyre when you're slowly and gradually bringing on the acceleration. There's certainly a couple of lines you can use here in Le Mans. I guess it determines what bike you're using and also what your preference is on board the motorcycle. Now, something I want to mention, you probably know it already, because if you're playing on PC you're probably having this horrible ghosting and blurring effect like I'm having on here. Do apologise, there's nothing I can do about it, just have to wait for till Milestone fix it, so my apologies. But braking into Shimano Buff, still getting a bit out of shape there, downshifting a little bit too much, putting a bit too much torque into the rear tyre, but we still tackled it pretty well, and we're up by half a second with the double soft combo, so maybe the medium rear wasn't for me. I guess we'll find out later on. But now going into turn 12, much tighter to the apex than we did on the previous lap, and therefore still up by half a second. Nice and tight to apex for 13, really close to the outside of the track, and we did invalidate the lap time. So unfortunately, this first 129 has been invalidated. So let's try that again, sticking with the double soft combination. Unfortunately, I did have to restart because, of course, invalidating the corner there meant that we invalidated the next lap as well as the one we were already on. So it made sense to dive back into the pits, get a fresh pair of tyres, and try again. So it's great performance into the first sector, up by 0.3 of a second. It could be even more as we dive down into La Chapelle for the 5th time of asking. It is up by a nice chunk of time there, ladies and gentlemen. We do have a good chance of getting back into the 129s, but one thing I will say, I'm quite happy with my consistency in this one so far. Now, usually it starts off with a lap time that is pretty average, to say the least, and I guess the 1:36.43 was relatively average, but I'm happy with that pace. I do think that MotoGP bikes in MotoGP 22 has got a big learning curve for me, because I'm so used to MotoGP 21 and the Moto 3s that I do think that once I eventually move up to the MotoGP category within the career mode, we'll really begin to nail these lap times. But to the inside for Shimano Buff, to the right hand side, and a short upshift up to second gear, bringing on the power and braking nice and early before we get into the blue S's or the S blurs as we go for turn 11. And out to the left hand side for turn 12, keep it in relatively tight. That is exactly how you want to do it. Don't go on the rumble strip like the autopilot does, and don't go too wide into the 12th corner. But now into 13, avoiding the ever so really tight white line there on the track there. We do get across the line. It is going to be our first 129. It's a 129.895. It's a brilliant lap so far. Did make a mistake, unfortunately, going into Musée after this one, losing the front, so I did decide to cut that one out, and let's try once again. One thing I will say is not many crashes in this one, and I also didn't invalidate too many laps, so again, feeling pretty good with the KTM. When I tried it with the Honda and the Suzuki, felt pretty good as well. The Yamaha feels nice, but I did find the KTM for me was just really clicking. I also really enjoyed the LCR Honda, so maybe expect a video with the LCR Honda in the future. But now to the left hand side for Musée, the Ghost getting up on the inside, but as you can see, the difference in apex does mean we regained our advantage ahead of our transparent friend. So a wide apex here now for Garage Vert as we go nice and tight upon the apex to sort of cut it back up on the inside. It's exactly how you want to be doing it, not too tight, not too wide. Pretty good, pretty solid so far. But now into Shimano Buff, hard on the brakes we'll go with a double soft combination. Much rear brake there as well, just to try and glide the motorcycle into the corner. I like the rear tyre sliding ever so slightly like that. Not too much so it's all out of control, but just enough to get a bit of a balance and a feel of pushing the limits with the KTM. A really good bike. I cannot stress how much I'm enjoying using the Tech 3 KTM as we now go a little bit wide for turn 13. Oh, that was so close to invalidating the lap, and again into the final corner, which is really close. But I tell you what, it's kind of annoying because in real life MotoGP riders do cut the corner there into record them on. Not the part with the green apex, but the outside from turn 13 to 14. They do actually cut that white line, so I don't know why the video game makes it so tight in that particular corner, but I guess that's the way it is. So into the left hand side, turn 5, turn 6, into La Chapelle, to turn 6, go wide, but then bringing it nice and tight, we do get a bit of an advantage, or at least alongside the transparent friend, so that's not too bad. But we go tight to the apex of Musée, running it into the really dark lines of the track. You can see where all the grip has been laid down from the riders before us, as we'll now go firm on the brakes as we go into the right hand side for Garage Vert. Going to be really gentle here on the brakes. Of course, when you're trail braking into a downhill section, you can really make a mess. So be very careful if you're going to be trail braking into Garage Vert. Make sure you're not braking any firmer than 40%. As we now go really firm on the brakes and to the left hand side for Shimano Buff again. Another mistake has been made, not quite getting it right into the most difficult corner of, or at least one of the most difficult corners of the French GP. But we will now consider swapping back over to the soft and medium combination, because I really felt that was the combination for me when I was racing against Sacred Meerkat. So let's see what happens. We now go into the right hand side for 13, go into the right for turn 14. Let's maybe do one more lap on the softs, end it on an even number, and then the soft and medium combination. So down by 3/10, still in the 129, so it's still a very good lap, but what could have been if we didn't mess it up into Shimano Buff. But into the left hand side for turn 3, pretty solid performance so far, and now into the right hand side for turn 4. We were much cleaner upon the exit and actually getting away from the Ghost ever so slightly. It's neck and neck as we go into the right hand side for La Chapelle, onto the black stuff, onto the tarmac, which has been heavily laid down with rubber. We'll now pick on the power, and you can see the right hand side of the soft rear getting a little bit too warm. It's not really ending the run, as we almost ended the run there by just cutting into the corner and possibly going over the white line. The soft tyre will probably not last any longer if I continue to push at this level. We are giving it everything and a half right now. We are literally going for it. Quick shout out to Sergio as well for making the helmet, something I neglected to mention from earlier on, but that is a custom helmet made by Sergio23, of course, the legend who makes all the helmets and the liveries I've used in Ride 4 over the past few years. So legend Sergio, thank you very much. But now braking into the right hand side for the Blue S's, going a little bit wide, but I do feel into turn 12 we can gain a bit of an advantage if we keep it nice and tight. Oh, the KTM, it was slipping and sliding there. The vibration, the controller, my goodness, it was really kicking off some jib there. It really wanted to crash there, but we didn't allow it. But unfortunately we will not improve on this particular lap. So now it's time to dive back into the pits and check the tyres. Yes, soft front, medium rear. Now it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to the right hand side for the Dunlop chicane. Firm on the brakes as we'll go to the left hand side now for turn 3. Get that nice and tight apex once again for turn 4. That is it. That's exactly what I was looking for. The medium tyre now will not get too hot. It should be a pretty good combination to keep me going and hopefully improve the lap time from a 1:29.5 to something even better. 1:28's maybe out of my reach, but I'm certainly going to give it my all. So let's see what happens as we go into Musée for the left hand side for turn 7. Neck and neck against the Ghost. Still very consistent pace. I'm very happy with the pace we've been putting on, and getting into the 1:29s and being relatively consistent is certainly good for me. A little bit wide into Garage Vet, that will cost us. But how much time? It's a tenth of a second. It's teetering. It's certainly oscillating between a tenth and less than, as we now go really gentle and really early for the brakes for Shimano Buff, and I think that's cost us. Being that extra bit too tentative on the brakes for Shimano Buff has certainly cost us a few extra tenths, but we are still within striking range if we can really get the timing right into 13, because you look at the Ghost now, he will go wide into this particular part. Going for the tighter apex alongside the Ghost and for the really tight apex once again. I think we can do this. And at this point, I didn't realise, but I still wanted to do one more lap. So I want to end it on 10 laps. So here it is then, guys, the final lap of today's video. Soft front, medium rear combination on board the KTM RC16. And that's a bit of a mess going into the first corner, so I guess there's nothing to be too proud of that one. But we will claw in a bit more time as we go underneath the Dunlop Bridge. Hard on the brakes for the right hand side for La Chapelle for the 10th and final time of asking in today's video. To the right hand side we'll go now. The Ghost has disappeared on the screen, no idea where he is. Oh, just briefly on the right hand side appearing, but we'll now brake one more time for turn 7 to the left hand side, bringing in that elbow and the Alpine Stars knee slider right to the floor as we get as low as possible. But now braking firm for Garage Vert. It's all the advantage goes to the way of the Ghost, but we will have that inside line, possibly if we get the right acceleration here. A small slide on the rear, but it's nothing to be too concerned about. But here is the point. Make it or break it right here into Shimano Buff, braking firm, dropping it down to first gear, keeping it nice and tight to the apex, chucking it to the right hand side as we get the flip-flop section for the chicane. Beautifully done as we go firm on the brakes, using that white line on the track there as a guide on when to start braking. Of course, stick around for a braking guide here in Le Mans because it's coming up very, very soon. But no, ahead into turn 12, turn 13 is where we're going to get an advantage because of the poor performance from the previous lap. And now to the right-hand side for the final time of asking. This will be a low 129 across the line. It's a 129.430. So there you go then, guys. 10 laps here in Le Mans. One of them being invalidated, but the majority of them being very fast and very consistent. Put it all together and we could possibly get a 129.1. So we'll look at the leaderboards, and unfortunately the position is not too great, but considering I'm not that great with MotoGP just yet and I enjoyed it, so that's all that mattered. That's my time to beat. So guys, if you want to beat it, I'm on PC, you can use my Ghost, or if you're on a console or anything else, just go ahead and beat the time of a 129.430. But thanks for watching, guys, as always. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below. And be sure to like and subscribe. Ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.